Welcome back to Summit, everybody. We're taking a look at the 23rd Sunday in Ordinary Time. You know, God has a lot of titles. God is love, right? God is mercy. God is truth. God is the Alpha and the Omega, the one and the only. I mean, he's everything, right? He's the living bread, light of the world. But God is also justice. And that's one of those titles that we don't really come around to very often, because when you hear the word justice, it often sounds almost negative, right? Like someone's just bringing the hammer down, like you think of like the judge in the courtroom with the gavel, you know, and the word justice can instill fear in people. But the reality is that the fact that God is justice should actually bring us a lot of peace and a lot of calm and a lot of joy, because what it's telling us is if someone's doing wrong, they're going to be held accountable, right? If those bad people, like when you watch the news, and you see stuff online, people who do evil and who are wrong to other people, we want to see them brought to justice. We want to be sure that they're going to be held accountable, especially people in positions of power who wrong people who are not. We want to know that they are going to be brought to justice. And these readings this week actually tell us and remind us and assure us that this is true, that God sees every evil, God sees every wickedness, every sin, and those people will be held accountable. But here's what the readings tell us this week, and this part's really, really important. God expects his children, you and I, to also hold people accountable. He expects his children, you and I, to help in the justice process. In this first reading, we're going to hear that we can't just let people be wicked and not say anything. He expects his children to instruct the wicked. That when you see someone doing something wrong, that they're violating truth, they're violating someone's dignity, that they're not loving, that he expects us to speak up and to speak out and to act. That we are his hands, we're his feet, and we're his voice. So what he's saying is, listen, it's not enough if someone's being wicked for you to stand to the side and be silent. I'm expecting you to do something about it. The psalm, we hear, harden not your hearts. If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. That when you hear God calling you, telling you to act, to say something, to do something, to spread justice, to spread love, to spread mercy, you got to do something. Don't harden your hearts, don't deafen your ears, do something, because he's speaking to you. He's urging you, he's inspiring you, he's motivating you to be his hands, to be his feet, to be his voice. St. Paul, in the second reading, he's going to encapsulate the 10 Commandments for us, but he goes a step further. It's not enough just to know the commandments. You got to teach them with love. You got to share them with love. The with love part's really important, because sometimes we might want to walk in and bring a lot of justice, and I'm going to tell you about the commandments. I'm going to tell you what you're doing wrong, and you're a horrible person. If you don't couch it with love and do it with love, well, now you know what? All you're doing now is fueling the fire for someone to be selfish, someone to be wicked, someone to make bad decisions. Now in the gospel, it says, listen, if someone wrongs you, go to that person directly. Talk to them directly. If they don't listen, bring somebody else to help make your case. If they don't listen, then go to the church. He's saying, hold people accountable, but if someone wrongs you, don't just go immediately and gossip about them. Don't go shun them. Don't go shut them out. Go to them. Go to them. Look them in the eyes. Don't just text them. Don't just DM them. Look them in the eyes. Explain why you're hurting. Explain what's wrong. But bring it to that person. Give that person the opportunity to respond the right way. Hold them accountable. The same way God holds the wicked accountable eventually, in his timetable, we have to hold everyone accountable, including ourselves, because God is justice. And if we ever think that we're beyond God's justice, because God loves us so much we're beyond his justice, well, then we've really lost everything. My brothers and my sisters, the reality is God sees all and he knows all. He knows the movements of our heart. He's calling us to be holy, to instruct the wicked, to keep our eyes and our ears open, our hearts open to what he's asking us to do. He's asking us to share his truth with love. He's asking us to go to people in a personal, respectful, loving way if they have a grievance, because people are going to upset us, people are going to hurt us. And he's also asking us to look in the mirror and remember that just because he loves us, we're also going to be held accountable. It's a great motivating factor this week to pray and to remain holy and to strive for holiness, because our God is not just justice, our God is holy.